Linda, tell us about the first time you had sex. Just kidding. We each have an envelope with questions, and we're going to interview one another. So who wants to start?
Linda, what was the moment that you realized you had made it?
Oh, well, for me, my dream was to be on the cover of Vogue, Annie Vogue. My 7th grade or 8th grade yearbook, my homeroom teacher, she signed it, and she had put on it, "See you on the cover of Vogue." My first Vogue cover was French Vogue with Bill King. Yeah, I had a really dark eye. I had couture on, had very long hair. And with Bill King, you have to move. You wind it up and then you, okay, go. I was just flicking my hair into the fan.
Yeah,
there was no music.
No music. And if you got tired, he would have someone spray the water spray in between the wind machines so it would like wake you up.
And unfortunately, it was his last cover.
You shot that in the middle of the night.
Why did you have to shoot it in the middle of the night?
Well, because during the day, back then, the clients were going to all the houses to see the garments in real life and buy them.
And you'd work at till 2, 3 in the morning.
4,
and we'd take
5.
naps during
And
the
there
day.
was no fitting. It got there and they put it on
And
us
sometimes you had like,
put
you
us
have
on
this
the
for
set.
half an hour, you have
Yes.
this for
Yeah.
15
And
minutes.
remember, they used to follow it exactly to the picture.
Oh, you had to do it to the
In
picture.
Saint Laurent, it was to the picture that was in the show, how you wore it with the gloves, everything. Compare 1989 Peter Lindbergh shoot with today's Ralph and Edward shoot.
Were we all wearing our own jeans?
Were
My
we?
Levi's.
I
Yeah.
think they were my
Yeah.
Levi's.
And those tops, do you remember who they were by?
Georgia
Georgia.
Angelo.
Yeah, and I feel like the shoes even were shoes
I love a flat shoe.
Yeah, me
I think they were our own.
It was more like a get together to me, because we've been together throughout London, Milan, Paris, New York, and the fashion week was coming to an end, or the fashion month, and we all loved working with Peter. It was relaxed.
My takeaway from that shoot was that, first of all, Peter loved all of us just looking like ourselves, and we all loved Peter. But it just felt so, like coming out of the 80s, because I think that was like the 90s woman. It was like a statement, what Peter saw as the 90s woman. And we were all natural. Like there weren't the giant shoulder pads, the hair teased up to here, the makeup. It was like,
he was
we
the
were
opposite.
very pared down. And even though we all looked very different, we all looked good together.
But did anyone here think that it would have the reaction that it did?
I didn't think George Michael would be calling us from it. I didn't think any of that. I didn't think a video would come from it.
And do you remember it was all sweet tea darling at the time? That's all we said. Ab fab?
At Fab,
Well, that was a good one. To the group, can you share a piece of wisdom that you've learned through your career?
I know everything has its time, and you cannot compete with destiny, is what I say. What I thought I wanted when I was younger, it wasn't my time to have. I wanted to work with Calvin Klein. I did the fashion shows, but I never did the ads. So it took me 34 years to do an ad. And I said, okay, it's okay, that's my time.
I would say my biggest lesson is listen to your gut. I had no problem doing nudes, but for the right people and under the right circumstances. The only pictures I've ever regretted are the ones that I kind of got talked into. And then the times when I stood up for myself, in the end, I feel like they respected me more because I wasn't a pushover. That's the advice that I try to pass on to my daughter.
Well, don't say I won't get out of bed for less than $10,000 a day. Don't say that. You will regret it.
What I do think is important that I learned is how important relationships are. Even though there are definitely times in our lives where we're not as connected, making the effort to keep things going and keep the line open, I think is important, not for us to just to call or text when we hear terrible things about our loved ones.
So many people we've lost.
So many.
And Tatjana,
Too young.
so young, so young.
This question is for you, Naomi. What was the defining moment in your early career that changed everything?
There's been so many moments, it's hard to pick one. I mean, I think, being on the cover of the Vogue of my country was a big deal because for me, I had to prove to my mother, to my grandmother, that I had made the right choice and that I hadn't, gone left and against the whole family who were like, no. So that was something that meant a lot to me.
Who were your mentors at the start of your career, and what did they teach you? Turley?
I mean, I guess the closest thing to a mentor that I would say would probably be the photographers we worked with early on. So I learned probably the most from Arthur Elgort and Stephen Meisel because they're the two photographers I worked with the most in those first 2 years. That was like the actual training.
For me, it was the first photographer that I worked with in Chicago, the first big photographer, Victor Skrupneski, because I think he helped me understand that our job is to make the clothes look good. It's not just about you looking pretty or whatever. And so
Sell them.
To really understand the structure of clothes or how, this dress needs a waist accented or this dress is about the slit. But you didn't move kind of once you got in the position, which then when I got to New York, it was great for Avedon and Penn and those photographers who they were like, oh, you don't move and you understand the clothes. And from looking at pictures of all of you guys.
There was many mentors. Azadine Alaya was a mentor. Yves Saint Laurent was a mentor. Each, when you worked with them, you needed to embody their world and become what they wanted you to be. The model that I remember seeing was Iman because she had a Tia Maria commercial and she was so elegant, just gliding along. Of course, I knew who Marie Helvin was and Jean Shrimpton and Twiggy.
Oh, the great Brits.
My really horrific early years of tear sheets were good mentors to me. I learned what not.
You learn from yourself.
I learned from myself.
Yeah, what not to
Don't do that again.
This question is for Cindy. What is an iconic moment in the history of your career that will always stay with you?
For me, I have a series that will be highlights. My first American Vogue cover, August. That's an insight.
Wait, but Linda, say, what's wrong with August?
Yeah.
Please
what's
explain.
wrong with August, Linda? Linda
Okay.
famously once told me that August isn't a very good month.
Linda needs to learn to shut up.
But around the same time, I got offered to do Playboy with Herb Ritz, which was a big, no one understood why I did that. I don't know why, it just felt right, and I loved Herb, and I trusted Herb, and I knew I'd be safe. Oh, and then I did a Pepsi commercial with Joe Pytka for the Super Bowl, and it was, cool car and cool music, but the cute boys, can I say, took the piss out of it. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't just the sexy girl, it was cute at the end, so it was, I think it had something for everybody. And the combination of all of those things really led to MTV offering me House of Style because I had a broad audience of men and women, not just a fashion program.
Yeah.
To the group, what would you say have been some of the most notable changes within the industry, it's easy, from the 90s to present day?
Film to digital.
When you're shooting digital and the whole team, sometimes you're on set by yourself and everyone's hovered around the monitor and you're kind of you guys, I'm over here. Sometimes it's great because you're okay, I got it, we can move on. But other times they shorten the time that you're on set, so you might miss the accidental thing that happened that was magic. There was a freedom in film because it was okay, we got the Polaroid, now just go for it. I missed that aspect of film, but we usually finish earlier with digital.
Inclusivity and diversity, seeing more models of color, creed, race, shape, age, getting work, and not having to feel ashamed, feeling accepted.
If you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be? I think that, and all of us in different ways came from small towns, small beginnings or whatever. And I think when I finally got in the big city and then found myself in Paris or Milan, there was that feeling that I didn't really belong. It was I'm an imposter, they're gonna find out it's the emperor's new clothes syndrome. I wish I would have had more fun and just less insecurities.
I wish I would have taken the advice from my friends, from my parents, from my mother. I wish I would have taken advice and not been so hard-headed and did what I wanted to do, because I do have regrets. You know, but with wisdom, I was able to correct most of those things. But please, kids, listen to your parents. I know, they're so annoying, but you know what? They're kind of right.
This is a public service announcement.
Yes, this is a big announcement.
To the group, if you were to sum up the essence of today's cover shoot, what would that be?
I would say for me today has been fun, and I think that comes across in the images.
Historical. I mean, I hope I'm going to see you all again, but it's,
I hope so too.
I'm saying in the sense of to do what we're doing now with Edward and with Anna, today is historical.
It's amazing how quickly we all just fall into it, even though we all have, like, you know, kids and, you know,
No, the energy's been amazing.
Yeah.
What I feel is the joy. That's what I feel from today, joy.
There is something about our early years that really felt very joyful and very celebratory. Even though life was certainly not perfect, the business was not perfect, the world was not perfect, but when you look back, there is this sense of joyfulness and playfulness.
I'm blessed that I came at that time. I wouldn't have wanted to come at another time.
Same.
I love our era.
Shall we do a high five?
I'm doing a
One
low
year.
five. Or yeah.
How about that?
Thank you, Vogue.
Thank you, Vogue. Thank you,
Naomi.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Edward.
Thank you, Edward.